You are listening to the FCF Leadership Podcast. This podcast has been created to help you connect and achieve your destiny as a leader. For more information, visit our website at fcf.org.
Hi, everybody. It's Whitney Baldwin again, here to talk to you. Really just kind of give you some more tips on discovering your church why, discovering your church, and really who you are called to reach as a church. Just to do a little recap, my first podcast was done back in January, February, and we talked about discovering your church's why, that it goes beyond just the Great Commission. It goes beyond God asking you or instructing you to start a church. He has called you to a specific area for specific people, and it's your responsibility to figure out who you are called to reach. So you start off with finding your church why. If you didn't listen to that first podcast, stop right now, go back, listen to it, because we're moving forward. It's been 6 or 7 months. You should have your why. Okay, so you want to get your why, your how, and your what. Now, we recently went through this with Mrs. Harrison and her new traveling ministry. So, and this technically isn't even new for her. She's been doing this for a number of years, but whenever she first started, we were never able to do this with her. So we just went through this with her, and it has opened up our mind and given us an amazing plan for her traveling ministry. So Mrs. Harrison's why is ministering on the simplicity and the practicalities of the Holy Spirit and the love of God. Her how is by traveling and ministering, and her what is teaching through teachings, demonstrations, and prophecy. Now that is specifically what God has called her to do. We have ours for FCF too, and I hope you do too at this point. So where do you go from here? Well, I'm glad you asked. That is such a great question. So here comes another difficult part. I say it's difficult. It might be difficult for some of you. It might not be. I don't know. I hadn't thought about some of these things, especially pertaining to FCF. You might already do this with your church, but you've got to ask yourself some questions. The first question you want to ask yourself is, who are you serving right now? So you need to look at your members of your church, those that have gone through some kind of, class to become a member of your church, not just those that kind of filter in and out, those that are there week in, week out, the givers, the servers, everybody. Who are you serving right now? A general idea of your age range. Go ahead, your gender. Are you mostly male, mostly female, 50-50? And then try to break it up maybe into like families too. How many families with children do you have under the age of 13? How many families do you have with teenagers? How many families do you have with grown kids? In the church that I attend, we have a number of families that have multi-generational families within the church. Like my whole family goes to my church. My grandmother, my aunt, my cousin, my parents, and then obviously me and my family, and I have 3 boys. So we have 4 generations at one church. That's common for some, but not for a lot. Now, the reason you want to know who you are serving right now is because if you are a senior pastor listening to this, or maybe you're not a senior pastor, but if you are in a pastoral position at all, the greatest little tidbit that I can give you is you have your biggest influence with people 10 years older than you and 10 years below you. Now, that doesn't mean you can't reach people older than that or younger than that. That just means you're going to get the most influence with people in that bracket. Here's why. A lot of times, they've gone through a lot of the same experience as you have. So you're going to relate to them a lot more. You guys will have a lot more in common. They'll understand the way you're preaching, the way you're teaching more than others outside of that bracket. Again, I'm not saying that you're not going to reach somebody older or younger than that, but 10 years above, 10 years below, that's your sweet spot. So if you're an older minister and you notice your church might be aging a little bit and you don't have an associate pastor, this is the time to really seek the Lord about who to raise up under you. Who could take over to help reach that younger generation? But a younger pastor will be able to get in there, and younger people are drawn to younger people. Typically, okay, I'm not saying there aren't exceptions to the rules. I'm just saying this is what research says. Okay, so your first question is, who are you serving? And then you want to ask yourself, what problems are these people having? Some of this you'll know the answer to, but some of this, it's okay to guess. We call it educated guesses for a reason. What problems are they having in their family, at their home, at their job, wherever, okay? With their friends, within themselves, what problems are they having? Do they have identity crisis? Do they not know who they are in God? Are they having addiction issues? Are they having abandonment issues? There's lots of things that you could say there. The next question is, what are you doing to help solve their problem? Now, the next question is a little bit different, but still kind of the same. Who is your ideal target group? If you know that your biggest circle of influence is going to be 10 years above, 10 years below, you know who you're attracting, you know your why, then you can start to fill in some of these blanks. And I know some of this kind of feels like, well, I don't know, it's kind of up in the air. Okay, and that's where the Holy Spirit comes in to help guide you. One of my favorite things to do is I love to research. I love to Google things. I love reading articles, little tidbits, watching videos. I love information. But I also love the Holy Spirit. And all the information I can take, or all the information that I can read, he helps to guide me to apply it to different things, and he can do the same for you. So by all means, take everything that I'm telling you. I'm just teaching you some of the stuff that I have learned. Use your Holy Spirit filter to use it for your church. Okay, so who are you serving now? What problems are they having? How are you helping solve their problems? And then who is your ideal target? That's going to kind of give you like a pretty specific age range that you're looking at, who you're affecting the most. And it's also going to help show you the problems that they're having. And if you need to help kind of course correct what you've been teaching or preaching, the different areas of influence that you need to have, it's perfect. All of this information that you have, you can, and don't just like put it in your head, like grab a piece of paper, meet with your team, and start going through this. You know, by us going through this, by us, I mean FCF, we recognize that a lot of our ministers were aging, and that's why we've had such a strong emphasis on talking about transition. On average, there are 150 churches closing every single week, and we don't want you to be part of that. Okay, you've answered your questions. You've kind of got this roundabout idea of age, gender, maybe what they do for a living, if they have a family or not. Now, picking this person helps to build your strategy. So this person, we now will refer to them as the persona avatar. So what does persona avatar mean? It basically just means a fake person. So what we're doing is we're creating a fake person. Why are we creating the fake person? It's going to help us with our strategy, but it's also going to help build a person, because whenever you think of that specific person, it's going to help give you vision and strategy for how to reach them. So you want a specific type of person so you can know specifically how to reach them. So you want to build off of this persona avatar. So let's just call this person Travis. Okay, this is a made-up person. His name is Travis. Based off of these questions that I've asked about my church and who my ideal target audience is, His name is Travis. So I'm going to list a few things here that you will need to answer. What are Travis's traits, his values, passions, hobbies, interests? What issues is he dealing with at home and at work? Okay, so I used Travis as my example, so I will go through. Now, part of this is guessing. So you're going to use, to answer these questions, you're going to use raw data, so the data that you've collected from the questions you've asked, your demographic insight, so using Esri.com to understand your zip code area, and then general research. Again, Google things. Find out what millennials like. Find out what Gen Xers like. Find out what traditionalists like. Wherever you are, wherever your realm of influence is, you need raw data, demographic insight, generational research. Now, the last thing that you want to do, and this one is hard, I think. What will their life look like before they come to your church? Oh, Travis has a job that he doesn't really like, but he feels stuck in because he's got to provide for his wife and his 2 kids. He doesn't feel like he has the financial freedom to go off and go after his passions. He really likes to go frisbee golfing, but he doesn't have the time to do it on the weekends because that's when his wife works her job. So he's with the kids. And because he works during the week and his wife works on weekends, their marriage is strained, but they're trying to make it work, but they don't know how. Okay, I just came up with, this is a total hypothetical situation, and that's really what you're going to do. You are going to create a persona avatar. You want to have a specific look. Like maybe Travis is 35 and his wife is 31 and they have 2 kids, a boy and a girl, and they both have jobs. He works during the week. She works on the weekend. The kids go to public school. Their daughter is getting bullied and they're trying to figure out how to help her best. Their marriage is strained because they're working opposite shifts. Okay, do you see where I'm going with this? Like you're totally building this person. And then you're going to, I just laid out for you what his life looks like before he came to your church. So now you've changed your strategy because you want to reach Travis. So you're starting a men's frisbee golf league or something like that. And one of his friends brings him. Or maybe you guys know that you're called to young married couples. And you host a marriage conference and the wife actually has a weekend off. And so they come together. So now what is their life going to look like after coming to your church? And then you're going to paint that picture with your persona avatar. These are examples. This is all hypothetical. I know it's hard sometimes for us to use our imagination, but you're using your imagination plus the raw data, the demographic insight, and the generational research. Raw data, demographic insight, generational research. Okay, so why am I talking about all of this? Where are we going from here? We've got our why, our how, our what. Now we've created this persona avatar. Okay, you need all of this so that you can come up with the right strategy for your church, for making the biggest impact on who you are called to reach. Now, for me, I'm a millennial. Okay, so if you are called to reach a traditionalist, you are probably not going to reach very many millennials. Or if you're called to reach millennials, you're probably not going to reach very many traditionalists. And that's okay. We all have our own lane to drive in. We are all called to do, yes, one general thing, but we are called to do it in very specific ways. And that's one of the reasons why I love FCF, because FCF is not a denomination. We aren't going to dictate to you what your church or ministry has to look like. We are a fellowship. We are here to stand alongside you, cheerlead you as you keep going after what God has asked you to do. You don't have to do exactly what the next person is doing. You do what God is calling you to do, and we are here to help with anything we have, any way we can. And that's why I'm talking to you about this. Okay, so you have your why, your how, your what. You have answered the question of who are you serving right now, what their problems are, and how you are helping to solve their problems, and then who is your ideal target group. So why are you answering these questions? To create your persona avatar. Who is your persona avatar? The exact type of person that you have the highest amount of impact with. You're going to create them, give them a name, an average age. What are their traits, their values, their passions, their hobbies? What issues are they having at home? And then the two big ones. What will their life look like before they come to your church? And what will their life look like after they come to this church? Now, this information that you gather, you don't have to talk to your church about it. This is really just something for your leadership team to go through. Remember last time I talked to you about creating a team that has a like heart, not necessarily a like mind. It's okay that we get different mindsets on it, but they all have to have the same heart, the heart towards people, towards your church why. Okay, so get them involved in this process, because more than likely you've probably involved a creative person if you aren't already, and they can help you come up with this. So again, we did this because the next step is building your strategy to reach that person. You guys, I hope you are learning. I hope you are growing. I hope this is hard for you, honestly, because it stretches you and you really have to lean on the Holy Spirit to guide you exactly where you're called to be. I can't wait to hear from you guys. If you have questions, you know you can email me, Whitney@FCF.org. If you have questions about anything I talked about today, if you want further explanation, shoot me an email. I'll probably call you back because that's easier for me sometimes. Anyway, please let me know how I can best serve you. You guys have a great day.
You have been listening to the FCF Leadership Podcast, where our focus is to help you achieve your destiny as a leader. Thank you for joining us today. For more information, visit our website at fcf.org.